Hello and welcome to the Clashing of Steel. So today I'm taking a look at the Roman consumables. So starting with the stakes and the barricades. Both of these consumables need to be deployed, and deploying them takes a while. But since I'm playing Commander Salla and when I use the whip ability, I can reduce the deployment time of these consumables. Stakes are the consumables you want to deploy in a forest or high grass or somewhere where the opponent can't directly see them. While the barricades are something you want to use to hold out enemies, to cover your sides, to block enemies from coming through. Most players do play stakes with catapults, deploying stakes all around them, but stakes can be destroyed rather fast, while destroying the barricades takes a bit more time. Here you can see me deploying my stakes into the high grass, just in case any cavalry or anything would try and come from the sides. This way I have my sides covered and my ballistas can do some damage. So, some time has passed and we have taken the hill. Here I'm going to use the barricades. I'm going to cover the forest area, because the opponents coming out of the forest, they can definitely see the stakes. But it will take a while for them to come through the barricades. If there should be anyone coming through, I have my sides covered and the other side is covered by the swordsman, of course. There's actually one great thing about having like the catapult units or the small ballista units. They can carry 3 sets of barricades, for example, while the swordsman unit can only carry 2. I think this is the bonus for having some compact ballista or catapult units. They can use it to build a wall on their undefended sides, or even build themselves into a fence. For cavalry units, it actually might be a bit more dangerous to destroy the stakes, but for the barricades, the barricade blocks everyone. It is hard to push through them, although it is possible. Stakes are best used as a stealthy weapon, although you can use them as a defensive product as well. I personally prefer to use the barricades as defense because they are a lot more durable, but they do not do any damage. Another deployable consumables are the caltrops. They work a bit differently. They are deployed in a matter of 1 second, and they can slow down opponents and even ruin the charges. I have even seen it as a ranged unit's defensive tool. They drop the caltrops behind them and then they run ahead. They put them in tight spots just to disengage the opponents, the cavalry or swordsmen. For ranged units, they are the supporting tool to disengage to make some distance, or just to keep your distance and destroy your enemies. They can be a great tool for javelin, popping them down one by one, making enough distance and then just bombing the opponent with your javelin fire. For swordsmen, it can work 2 ways. It can be to slow down chasing enemies, or it can be used as an offense weapon. Usually you can see a lot of players going on the offense in the game. They don't play on defense, they play on offense. No one will stop. You can use it as an offense weapon to go close to an enemy, but not too close. When you see they are advancing towards you, you pop them right in front of you. At a distance they could charge from, and at a distance you have enough time to deploy them. That way messing up the opponent's charges. It can be also used as a defensive weapon. Deploying them far in front of you, the opponents will see that there are caltrops down there. If they want to destroy them, you have a chance to charge into your opponent once they are almost destroyed. Or if they want to walk over it, you can charge into them practically a few moments after they have stepped into the last caltrops. The caltrop damage actually isn't that good, it just annoys your opponents. It's meant to stop their movement, it's meant to stop their speed, it's meant to ruin their charges, or any sort of heavy engagement that they were hoping for. So I'm going to move on to overall cavalry and swordsman consumables. The most known probably are the armorsmith, drill sergeant and the weaponsmith. So starting off with the armorsmith. It can be used by regular and armored swordsmen, and of course the cavalry. It changes a bit depending on the unit type that you prefer. It might give you a bit more missile block, for example, or it might give you just 1 less body armor. It can be different plus minus 1, or perhaps not different at all, depending on the unit types that you play. Usually I would not suggest it with the armored legionnaires, because you already have enough armor, why do you need that much? I'm guessing you're playing Germanicus, so arrow block isn't that important. But with Salla and regular legionnaires, I'm guessing it could pay off, giving me extra defense to stay alive, to toy with the opponents. I can also understand it with Scipio and the cavalry, giving you some extra body armor to stand longer in a fight. Seeing also as the Oath of Preservance was just nerfed. If you feel that you need defense, go for it. I'm sure it's a great solution for your problems. So for next one we have the Drill Sergeant. This is probably the only consumable I have used with the cavalry, because with swordsmen I usually go for more defense or more offense. I usually don't pick the middle ground, but with cavalry I can see a use for it. You want some defense and you want some offense at the same time. I'm guessing you can also pick this consumable when you are not sure if you should go on defense or offense. This is kinda like the middle ground. And for the last one we have the Weaponsmith. It gives you mostly offensive bonuses, but it gives you also a bit of melee defense. I'm guessing it's based on the parry or so. This is what I usually pick with armored legionnaires, seeing as they already have a lot of damage, they have a lot of armor. Why not make them even stronger? It can also pay out with the regular legionnaires if you're good at flanking or you think you can manage it rather well. It can give you that extra boost to damage the opponents that you haven't directly routed. It can be a great consumable to use as a flanker. That being said, it is also great for the cavalry. Cavalry will often be the one flanking your melee opponents. Especially with Scipio, you will try to do moral damage, and if you don't succeed, you can use this passively, or even with Oath of Preservance if you want to just destroy your opponents. And the last thing that the cavalry has, only cavalry, are the War Steeds. These give you body armor, impact damage and melee attack. If you feel that your chargers aren't strong enough, I'm guessing you can go for the War Steeds. If you don't know what to pick, think that you need some more impact damage, some body armor and some offense as well, I'm guessing you can pick these instead of the Drill Sergeant. Okay, so I'm moving a bit on to the ranged consumables. I ain't going to talk about all of them, but I'm going to talk about what their benefits are. So I'm gonna bring to the table two different sorts of ammunition. I'm gonna talk about their different benefits and what type of damage is preferred to do what. First is the Flaming Javelin, and the second one is practically the Armor Piercing Javelin, or the Fletcher Javelin. So as you can see the stats here, missile weapon range, missile weapon damage, penetration damage and even armor piercing damage modifier. So having range is quite vital with javelins, because you're already pretty much outmatched towards any other ranged units. Missile weapon damage is the damage you usually focus on medium or light armored units. Penetration damage is damage against armored or perhaps even shielded units, giving you a chance to do more damage towards them. Armor piercing damage modifier increases your armor piercing damage practically. It gives you a bit of an extra punch when you're fighting against armored units. As in for what type of ammunition to choose when you're playing javelins, that's the hard part. The deal with them is that most of these ammunitions are good towards somebody and a bit weaker towards someone else. Usually I would not decrease any form of range, because javelins already have a rather short range. I would probably give extra armor piercing damage, or perhaps extra missile damage, but I definitely would not choose something that would reduce my range. Okay, so for the last two units we have the ballistas, well, compact ballistas or the Architecte, and the catapults. There are also the peak ballistas, but they pretty much share the same consumables as do the catapults. So the things that these two share are the carpenters and the surveyors. Surveyors are pretty much the same for both of them, giving you artillery retackle focus rate and deployable preparation time. Overall not bad, but I usually don't use them. But for the carpenters, they still give pretty much the same bonuses, but they give a bit less range to the compact ballistas. As with the compact ballista, I usually do prefer carpenter's upgrade. There is an ammunition that also gives you the same amount of range, but it reduces your damage. You might as well go for the passive upgrade and have the same range for the entire game, without any other penalties. As for the catapult, the damage is so much bigger and the ammunition choice is a bit wider. You can also make a choice there, depending on what damage type you want. There aren't any ammunitions that will increase your range, but there are most that will decrease your range and give you a bit of extra damage. I personally prefer the acid smoke, because if you hit it, it will stay on the ground for a while and be quite annoying towards your opponents. It will stay on the ground for around 30 seconds and just do massive damage like the scorched earth of the barbarians. You can also pick a bit more armor piercing damage to give you that extra punch, or missile weapon damage by reducing your range of course. As I said, I usually prefer the acid smoke because it seems to be most annoying thing you can have. There are a lot of consumables in the game. If you want to try something out yourself, go for it. But remember, a lot of these consumables might not make a lot of difference. They might give you a bit extra punch, they might give you a bit more damage. Well, and some are of course like the catapult consumables, which will do a lot of difference. The best way you can use them is to try them out yourself. I usually don't stick to one consumable, I sometimes switch them up to see if anything would work better. But in the end I usually find a combination that suits my playstyle and I stick with it. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe and thanks for watching.